The average woman does not have the strength to do this job.
Veteran firefighter Julie Wolf testified in favor of strict strength tests. The department says it made the tape to protect itself from lawsuits. And it's reasonable to expect such suits. Most every big city has been hit with discrimination suits. It's just the kind of case that feminist lawyer Gloria Allred likes to bring. This tape was done to ward off people like you, who are going to bankrupt the county with lawsuits claiming that women...
Well, if there's discrimination against women, then they have options. I say doing nothing is no longer acceptable. You should fight back. And I think that the women who do so deserve a medal rather than criticism.
Some fire departments settled the lawsuits by making admission requirements easier. For example, getting rid of the mile-and-a-half run or easing some of the strength tests.
How is America better off if the real physical demands of a job have to be watered down to accommodate women? If I, as an all-suffering taxpayer, have to be evacuated from a building, I used to be carried by a male firefighter. I am now dragged by my ankles as my head hits every single stair going down 3 stories. I preferred being carried. I assume most taxpayers preferred being carried.
It's better to drag them out because there's less smoke down there. I mean, we're probably killing people by carrying them out at that height, you know. So, I mean, we need to look sensibly here at these jobs and what they really require, and not just some idea of what macho is.
The men in the fire department say the women aren't strong enough. They've had to change the test.
Well, that's all right. Institutions have to adjust. If there are still physical problems which prevent certain activities, those activities should be assisted so that in a way, with technology, so that it's possible.
They should give them an electric axe.
Whatever is required.
Is that what equal opportunity means? And if it is that good policy? And who pays for it? Well, you know the answer to that. You do.
That's a perfect example of us in the West living in such decadent times, peaceful times, luxurious times, that we can erode the effectiveness of institutions by imposing inclusion of women in jobs that are physically too demanding for them. All in the name of diversity. And the cold hard truth is, while these gynocentric women are spouting these ideas, that when it comes down to push and shove, when there's a real fire happening, when your life is truly in danger, watch how quickly they will revert to their primal instinct of wanting help, and they'll always prefer it be a man. Only when you live in an isolated bubble like the West can you afford to have luxury beliefs like this, that society should be set up in a way of equal outcome. You know, there's genetic differences that we all have. We are predisposed to be better at certain things than other people, and it manifests in our lines of work, the things we pursue, the hobbies we have. There are biological differences between the sexes. Strength is one of them. A job like firefighting, which requires certain physical attributes and requirements to be effective at your job, which could literally mean saving a life or not, tends to have more men naturally gravitating towards that line of work. Likewise, women have certain aspects of their psychology and genes where they're more nurturing, more caretaking. That's why a lot of nurses tend to be women. Caretakers tend to be women, etc., etc. Nobody pushed them to do that stuff. It's just something more natural. The most egalitarian societies in like Nordic Europe have some of the biggest differences in the outcomes of what people choose for their profession and what they want to do in life. These are more egalitarian than even here in the United States. So the more equal or perceived equal you tend to make a society, the bigger the differences of outcomes tends to be. You can never have an equality of outcome. We should be striving for equality of opportunity. Why can't we have a conversation where if the test says you have to run these many miles, pick up this amount of weight, or break down this kind of door in this manner, why can't we have a stringent set of rules that men and women are both expected to follow in the name of fairness? I can tell you myself, if I'm in a house fire, if I'm unconscious and I need help and seconds count for me living or dying, I don't want a woman dragging me by my ankles. She can't even drag me by my ankles. I'm 200 plus pounds. I mean, this disparity in physical size, like Who do you want as a firefighter to respond to you when your house is on fire? You may be unconscious. You need help. There's multiple people in the house. You have to move fast. Who do you want responding? A guy that's like 6'3", 220? Or some chick that's 5'4", 120? Like, who do you want attempting to break down the door? Who do you want attempting to carry people out? Honestly, when seconds count, that physical disparity is the difference between life and death. Why do we have to live with such a delusion that that is not as important as including certain people, and I'm not talking like women, just people that cannot do the bare minimum requirements to get the job, to be effective at it. Yes, because it's so physical in nature, which men tend to excel at, there will be a disparity where a ton of women can't get in. But there will be some women that can complete the requirements and be effective at their job. There's not a barrier here that simply says, because you have something in between your legs, we won't let you through no matter what. Society should be set up in a way of, if you can prove you're worthy, you will be accepted. End of story. Instead, we got to live with this gynocracy that's sweeping the nation and the West in general, where regardless of your performance, regardless of your merit, regardless if you can even do the job at a bare minimum level, you need to be allowed in because we feel it's right. We feel so strongly it's right, we're going to sabotage the effectiveness of the institution itself. Wow.
So I did this thought experiment on what the opposite of a patriarchy would look like, and came up with a really insidious thought experiment. The first is I took away all genuinely effective birth control from men and then gave them no reproductive rights after conception. Gave them the bulk of the dull, dirty, and dangerous jobs and some ridiculous percentage of workplace deaths, like 97%. Made them feel so disposable that 400 to 500% more men would commit suicide than women, and in the cases of divorce, 1,000%. Stigmatize their sexuality and their ability to express their emotions. And then I'd gaslight them and say that any man who would speak out about this hates women or is a misogynist. And it would... Wait a second. Hold on.
Yeah, that's called the gynocracy we're in. Are you surprised at all? Notice what gets silenced on my channel when we talk about gynocracy and gynocentrism. Isn't it weird how every time you bring this up, it gets gaslit back onto you with, but the patriarchy. But the patriarchy is responsible for XYZ. The patriarchy does this and that. Yet negative outcomes, like all the ones this man listed, are happening under the so-called patriarchy, is what we are led to believe today. Is that not deflecting? Is that not projecting? Strange, boys. If I were to make a video absolutely dumping on the patriarchy and men, it gets propagated and pushed throughout social media and YouTube. If I make a video on certain gynocentric movements, the mere use of some words will demonetize the video outright. You tell me, what system are we living under? To find out who rules over you, simply find out who you're not allowed to criticize. Voltaire was right, man. We'll see you on the next one.